Has anybody ever experienced that sore feeling that you have after a really good workout? Or that lightness that comes with a fast-paced walk, sense of accomplishment, yes? We wish more times than others, yes. Suzanne Utley, you're all about that, 5 in the morning. I love that about you. And the opposite is also true, right? Has anybody ever suffered from that really tense feeling where your body hasn't moved in a little bit and everything is kind of lackadaisical and slow and painful? Sometimes that's more relatable. And it's pretty easy to identify which one is which. The lightness versus the heaviness, the weightlessness or the feeling of being strengthened that comes from a good workout versus the one that's one from not moving around so much. What about a mental check-in? You know, when your mind needs a good challenge, a mental workout, if you will, whether it's reading or learning something new, a puzzle, a Sudoku perhaps, something that captivates our curiosity and gives our mind an intellectual aerobics. And the opposite here is also true. Sometimes our minds just need to rest, watch some mindless television, some reality show perhaps, which isn't doing us any favors to unwind. I'm guessing by the giggles, you know what I'm talking about. The Bachelor, yes. What about our spiritual barometer? How often do you assess your spiritual well-being? For most of us, I think that is the part of ourselves that receives the lowest degree of attention. And why is that? I have a few theories, but I'll save them for later. This week, we finish reading the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, and the next book we begin is the book of Numbers. And as many of you know, whenever we finish reading a book of Torah, we say, Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek. Strength, and may we be strengthened. And this recitation is a minhag. It's a tradition. It's not a law or commandment. Meaning nowhere in our Torah does it say you must do Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek. It's something that we adopted and inserted as a part of our practice. At some point, our community recognized that at the end of each book, we felt a sense of added resilience or sturdiness, kind of like our muscles after we lift a lot of weights. And physical exercise is easier to measure and keep track of, while spiritual workouts take a little bit more time and thoughtful consideration. Which is why we often set our spiritual workout aside, because the gratification isn't quite instant. And in this day and age, we've become very accustomed to carry a very spiritual, heavy load. And we don't even recognize that we're holding on to it. It's become our normal. We're used to carrying lots of stress. It's not unusual anymore. Suppressing uncomfortable feelings, fearing confrontation, these are all symptoms of spirituality in need of extra support and strength. So how would our world look differently if we allocated more attention to our spiritual workout as we did our physical one? We see advertisements all over the place for physical training everywhere. Whether it's the clothes we wear, the routine we do, we sell workout gear, exercise gear for the home, for the gym, hotels. We offer personal training. In Judaism, we actually offer very similar things. The gym is our temple and our homes. We have prayer books that are our version of weights. Your personal trainer is your clergy, your Jewish professionals, your family. So why don't we invest that same energy in our spiritual well-being that we do in our physical one? Our spiritual well-being, whether we're aware of it or not, dictates the way we navigate the world. It helps be effective in communication, construct healthy relationships with others. It's how we behave. It's the energy we emulate. It dictates our actions, and most significantly, it shapes and builds our inner core, our inner strength, the thing inside of us that allows us to contend with the world and everybody around us. It is the very mechanism that gives us strength within to go from impatient to open-minded, from frustrated to compassionate, from exhausted to energized, from cruel to empathetic, from dispassionate to purposeful. And it doesn't happen in a day, a week, or even a year, but often a lifetime. This week we read a double portion, Bahar and Bechukotai, meaning on the mountain, an iteration of the laws we received on Mount Sinai and how we're meant to engage with these rules. And these combined portions incorporate what's called the Holiness Code, which we spoke about a few weeks ago, which is a series of obligations delivered in do's and don't do's. The do's, meaning the obligation one should accomplish, are shorter than those compared to the don't. Meaning the deeds that we're supposed to perform, these are explained at length with more detail as compared to the obligations that were given in the positive. Our tradition recognizes that when we're obligated to carry out a ritual or a commandment, enormous thought and investment must go into it. The way I do my Seder may be different from yours. The way I behave kindly to someone may be different for another, because I'm interacting with two different people, and I too have varying needs. Our obligations call on us as participants to serve as architects of our tradition. And just when we go to the gym, we each have our own routines and our own practices. As inheritors of our tradition, we understand that we not only play an integral role in shaping what Judaism will look like in the future, but also how it influences our daily lives in ways that allow us to blossom in our present. Our spiritual fortitude is what leads us to the better version of our whole self and the way we interact with the world. Leviticus 26:11 and 12 read as follows: ונתתי משכני בתוככם ולא תגאל נפשי אתכם והתהלכתי בתוככם והייתי לכם לאלוהים ואתם תהיו לי לעם. I will establish my abode in your midst, and I will not turn away from you. I will be ever present in your midst. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. At first, this moment sounds like the enduring covenant we have between God and the people of Israel, which it is. And when we peel back just one layer, there's so much more to this idea. We're given this beautiful imagery to think about, having God dwelling among us. What does that mean? Is God here in this moment? Is God an aspirational finding, an inner part of ourselves that brings light to our existence? According to 13th century commentator Ramban, God dwelling among us is the simplest sense, tells those around us what conduct to expect from us, knowing that we live with a certain set of rules, expectations, and principles. And if we are all created B'Tselem Elohim, in God's image, then we already understand that God is already living among us in each and every one of us. So how do we get having a spiritual well-being to having God dwell among us? And I'd like to suggest that acknowledging that God is among us and in each and one of us is just the first stride towards our spiritual existence. This notion that we are not just physical beings who go about their day-to-day task after task, but rather we have integrity and a framework of living intentionally Jewishly, the lens by which we live our lives. It's not just the holidays we celebrate, but our joint narrative that we are all a part of. We do not just become bar and bat mitzvah and say we did it and God forbid just the party. But rather, we're entering the Jewish exploration of ourselves for the rest of our lives. And that, the bar bat mitzvah, is that starting point, not an ending point. We do not just fast on Yom Kippur and come to services and say, okay, did that. We do it to be with our community and to elevate one another and to become the best versions of each other together. And this evening, we have this wonderful joy of celebrating our teens who are graduating high school and beginning their lives as legal adults, not just Jewish adults, approaching life's existential questions. And as their community, I ask, have we prepared them for everything they're going to see in life? Have we properly prepared them for the harshness of the world? Can they combat the challenges that lay before them? No, probably not. But that's okay. They're not supposed to yet. What we must continue is to help them develop the God that dwells among them. And I pray they will enter a world that will never make them feel fearful of being proud of their Jewishness, because their Jewishness has shaped who they are to become and these incredible humans that we are all so proud of. And I hope that in partnership with them, they will know that we are always here with them to grapple with Torah, to grapple with life, and make it meaningful in their time, and to support them in their most difficult moments as adults, but to also celebrate their accomplishments as well. As ancient as our tradition is, it is also ahead of its time. It helps us deal with the realities of life and how to get through it. This passage in Parashat Bechukotai invites us to think about who we are and what motivates us to function in this world. Judaism is our path to lead better lives, to make choices that make us unapologetically cognizant of who we are and who we are not. I pray on this Shabbat that we elevate and also rejoice the God that dwells in our lives. Shabbat Shalom.